Who wants a sales rep that can bring 3 million in close business to your business? Stay tuned. Hey, what's up? Co-founder and CEO of FlowChat, Chris here. And we're talking to real entrepreneurs that are getting real results. Yes, we talk to all kinds of entrepreneurs. And if you've been in the industry or market or running a business for any length of time, you know that there's unfortunately way more fluff and nonsense than the real stuff. But we do our best to curate, and today is no exception. Today's guest is the top of the top and is working with the best in sales. This is the guy, this is the go-to guy, and we wanted to bring him to you today. You're gonna get a masterclass in sales, not just from his own abilities, but what he's been able to duplicate and replicate for multiple other businesses. So I gotta introduce you to Randall. Randall, how's it going?
Good. Glad to be here, Chris.
I appreciate you being willing just to take some time, pour into our audience and other entrepreneurs out there. I know we're getting to chat and get to know each other just a little bit. Dude, you have the most badass last name. Has anyone commented on your last name?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah,
it's kind of it's we got Ms. Grizz. That's my wife, right?
There you go.
And then we kind of got this thing in my family where we all got these grizzly bear tattoos. So my son,
the whole family has.
Well, my grandpa started it. My dad's got it. I got it. My son's got it. So yeah, we embrace it.
Generationally, you got the tattoos. That's awesome. We might remind me at some point. It'll come up on the tattoo side. We have a tattoo story at FlowChat. People are tattooing FlowChat on their body. It's a crazy story. I like that you guys have a family tattoo there. So let's do this. We like to jump right into like tactic framework. So anyone listening, watching can get some value immediately, but anyone listening, watching, stay tuned because you want to hear why this is working so well and how Randall got down this path. So we'll cover that in the second part. Let's jump into your sales rep. You had a great 2023 and you had multiple people closing multiple seven figures, past even the $3 million mark. How are they closing so much? Let's start with a simple question.
Yeah, I think a few different things. Number one, they're all in on the offer that we're selling. Their belief, like they're actually helping people change their lives. So that's a big thing. They believe in the fulfillment, right? That they're selling. But then also a lot of it just comes back to the marketing and the kind of indoctrination that they've been through before we even have the opportunity to talk with them. So I'm just talking about like these people on certain offers. The majority of what we do is sell on the back end of webinars.
Okay.
So somebody went on a webinar, they watched a webinar, for example, they bought $1,000 or $2,000 course. And so they're already excited about the opportunity. And then we come on the back end of that. We help our clients set up orientation and really just frame that next call, kind of a success call.
Okay.
And then we hop on those success calls and kind of separate out the people that are serious from the curious. And so I think a big part of it is it all goes together, right?
Yeah.
It starts out with good marketing, the right audience, buyer leads, a good indoctrination between the time that the webinar when they're a buyer and then actually the call that we do after that. And then a good offer. So I think it's a collaboration of a lot of things coming together.
You've already said so much in such a short period of time. Number one, customer journey. Number two, certain marketing tactics. And then I'd like also the sales process you just hit. So if it's all right, I'd like to hang here just for a second and unpack a lot of what you just said, because I don't want people to miss what you're mentioning. I love the sorting out the curious from the serious. That's a great line. Specifically on this customer journey. So I heard somebody like the market, other people I've talked to screaming in the back of my head when you said, "Oh no, we're just selling off the back end of a webinar. Webinars still work." So yeah. Can you? That's what I hear them yelling. Can you enlighten us how to best use webinars?
Yeah, webinars still work. Like some of our, and really, I think they work especially when you have a really solid game plan all the way through from start to finish.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, so like the webinars that we saw on the back end, of, a lot of times their whole goal is to really come close or break even, right? So, but with that, some of our best clients, they'll drop well into the six figures a day
Mm-hmm.
to be able to break even on $1,000 or $2,000 course.
Hmm.
And then they'll make their money on the back end when we upsell them those buyers into a $10,000, $15,000 offer.
Got it. Okay, so that's where the lifetime value is covering ad spend and then some, getting that coveted 1 to 4 or beyond ratio in the paid ads world. Okay, so I think so. We're still seeing cases of webinars working fantastic. So I don't know. There's just always like the fad or the whatever, belief is taking over the market. But I wanted to hear from you on the webinar side. So thanks for sharing. But I think the piece that you're mentioning there is really important, because not everyone has clear systems and processes, specifically sales ones, after the webinar. So if you could speak a little bit more to that piece. Once the webinar's done, okay, I sold the $1,000, $2,000 thing. Are you waiting a day, 2 days? When is, as you call, the success call taking place?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and that part of the process is really, really crucial. Like back in the day, I think a lot of times what people would do is they would create buyers on the webinar, and then maybe they would just reach out and say, "Hey, you purchased this on a webinar. Just wanted to touch base," and kind of their approach was trying to upsell them.
Yeah.
But what we really do is just break it down to the ridiculous. And what I mean by that is after that process, right? From the time that they're a buyer until the time that we're on that success call, like we do everything to make sure that they're indoctrinated so that by the time they get on that success call, they're that much closer to making a buy-in decision for the upsell. So there's a
Okay.
few different things that come into play. Like the first thing is what we call it orientation call,
Yep.
or sometimes we call it a quick start,
Okay.
right? And we'll do these.
Like that.
Our clients will do these daily, sometimes twice a day, for all of the new buyers on the webinar. And they'll jump in a group setting, and they'll spend about 30 minutes with those people, with those buyers.
Okay.
And really, that's kind of about salting the deal, making them feel good about what they already bought with the course, going through, making sure that they're all registered, logged in, and they understand that
And there's no
now that
selling in
they're
this
not,
call. No selling.
no selling in this call.
Okay.
It's really, like I said, about posturing, positioning, and also getting all of those people on that next call for the success call.
Mm-hmm.
So that orientation call is, like I said, it's really about making them feel good about what they've got, educating them on what they're about to do, like how kind of how the program is going to work,
Yep.
but then also like setting some things for them, like providing them with a game plan of what's going to happen now moving forward. So they'll tell them, we want you to make sure that you get through the first three modules, right? And then after that third module, by the time you get done with that third module, we're going to schedule your success call right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so set that up. We set those up for about 3 to 5 days out.
Okay.
And
3 to 5
so
days.
that gives them a chance to get through those three modules. And those three modules, we understand, part of the game plan is to make sure that in those three modules, it starts creating some excitement for them about the next offer, to be able to have more help, more support, and just get that coaching, I guess, more of a one-on-one, or just the support at a higher level.
Excellent. So here's a couple things that I'm hearing. I like the phrase orientation or quick start call. And that's taking, it sounds like they're booking that maybe 24 to 48 hours, after their purchase. Hey, let me help you log in. This is, you're seasoning it with salt, I think you were saying earlier. That's great. Like, it's affirming they made the right decision. I've heard it said, I'm blanking on the name, but I consume a lot of content at different times for interviews and everything. And it's people will buy, they'll vote for you with their, credit card and pay, but they're deciding if they're going to stay and what kind of experience they're going to really have within the first day or two. And so having that orientation and quick start call, I think, is a really, really important thing for everyone to model in any way with their product and service. Even if they don't have an upsell beyond that, can really help the sales process. After that, you have the success call, is what you...
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's like, man, always leading is what I hear you say. There's never the sales process you described. I was like, that customer journey, there's never any confusion. It's you're selling one thing, they purchase the one thing. We're talking about logging in and how to consume and get the most value out of the one thing. And then here is your clear next step. And then we're going to talk again in 3 to 5 days from now on a success call to ensure you're getting just that success. So
Right.
to me, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense why you guys are selling stuff over there. that's
Yeah.
a that's a consistent and clear sales process and customer journey. Let me ask this, because like a lot of times, if you're doing where I'm going with this is the calls and close on the front end. I mean, not when it goes colder and you're doing calls in the beginning, is it not worth, do you have trouble getting, keeping closers, doing those type of calls? If so, this kind of goes down the marketing path. What are the best practices for marketing?
Are you talking about just like people struggling with the leads that are created?
Yeah, let me clean that. I there's like my brain exploded and there's like three
Yeah.
questions that I'm not leading
Okay.
really well. So this is what I'm saying. What we described is closers being on the back end. You're not even talking about having to have them buy. They've already bought. You're really
Right.
using closers to upsell.
Hmm.
Is that what, do you even recommend having closers just closing high ticket before to non-buyers?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's a lot of different ways to do it. One of the things is you hear a lot of people talking about setters and closers, and a lot of times the setters are working, kind of the rougher inventory of leads going through the masses, trying to get the closers on the phone with the right people. But we actually, even on the back end of buyer leads, do a two-part sale. Okay,
Okay.
so that success call that we do is actually with a setter, and that setter's job is to go through, make sure that there's somebody that's qualified, make sure that it's a good fit, and then they kick them over and set up an appointment with the closer. So we still do a two-part sale, and there was a time that most of our offers were application leads, right?
Okay.
Stuff like that. I mean, when I started in the industry,
Yeah.
all of our like in the call center space where I was at was
Ah,
it was really free plus shipping, right? Like masses of leads, big teams going through a lot of volume to find the deals. And you know now, instead of figuring out how we can plug ourselves into other people's models, we figure out people that understand the model that we can plug ourselves into.
nice.
And so, I mean, there's certainly, and even a couple of our other offers right now
Yeah.
are application leads, right?
Okay.
And they can be good. They can be good. But there's nothing better than having a really precise game plan
Yeah.
uh, to work on buyer leads, because buyer leads are just going to convert better.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And that really gets into the marketing piece. And I want to hear your take of great marketing processes and bad marketing processes. And then I know we'll head down the compliance path because you've been handling that so well. So there's enough open loops for people to stay with us. Let's start with marketing. What's like, share some examples of just bad marketing.
Well, I think like the biggest thing with bad marketing is just kind of bait and switch or free. Like anytime you're talking about, you know, creating quality leads and talking to the right avatar for certain offers, a lot of times people get caught up in, hey, it's all about creating leads. And it's not,
Yeah.
right? It's really like less is more a lot of times. And I think a lot of marketers do the best that they can to create leads, but a lot of times those leads aren't in alignment with the offer.
Yeah.
So on the front end, their kind of bait is a lot of free, trying to kind of get people almost like gotcha to show
Mm,
up for meetings. And then another piece to that bad marketing is just really not giving them enough information, right? So
interesting.
I think a lot of times it's when it's real vague, that's the easiest way to create leads. Like, hey, you want to do this amazing thing, like you're going to make tons of money.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost you anything. Like book a call. But then you book a call and their first thing is like, they said this was free, right? And so anytime with marketing efforts that you mention the word free, and I know this could go against the grain from a lot of marketers that are listening to that. That's not my intention. But the more transparent you are, uh, the better off that you're going to be as far as creating a high ticket sale.
Yeah, I like it. So let's go to flip the coin, and we're gonna go to the best marketing campaign. So I mean, you can share if you feel comfortable, but some of your better clients that have the best marketing campaigns, what's their format? How are they posting content? Are they doing webinars? What's kind of that front end marketing that's giving the proper information up front?
Yeah. Like I mentioned, it's really simple. Like our best clients are paid ads, okay, to a webinar, like a 3-4 hour webinar, a lot of times.
3-4 hour
Um,
Joe Rogan webinar. Is that what you
yeah,
said?
well, they yeah. I just went to this mastermind just a couple of weeks back, and Jason Fladlin was there, and he's kind
Oh,
of like
well, he's a
the
good guy to learn
OG.
from.
Yeah, he's like the OG of webinars, right? And a lot of times people are doing a lot shorter ones, and those can work, right, for sure. But his thing is like the longer that you stay on, the better.
Hmm.
And so sometimes, especially if you're providing value, and
You know what's
so
crazy about this? I think this is really important that you're mentioning that. It's shocking me, but it's also starting to make sense. 3 months ago, we'll be doing our fourth. We're calling it a challenge, but we're calling it a 3-hour challenge. It's a workshop, or you could probably call it a 3-hour webinar. Randall, this blew me away. What
yeah,
you're saying,
that's it. That's
it's
it.
all that, like, we can
It's all
dance
right.
around adjectives all
Yeah,
day. That's
yeah,
great. But the end
yeah,
result are people are hanging on Zoom for over 3 hours. It's
yep,
exactly what you're saying. And I was like, who the hell's going to stay on Zoom for 3 hours? You know what retention was on our webinar or workshop or whatever we call it?
mm,
It was over 90%.
yep,
We filled them. Now, granted, it's workshop. We're not doing slides for 3 hours, but we're implementing, we're engaging with people. I was like, we one of them, there was we started with like 74 were on Zoom with us, and by the time we got to 2.5-3 hours in, there was 67.
wow,
I was
yeah,
like, how is there still? Now, that's not the same people, like some drop and then some,
sure,
but still like average numbers, right? So I just wanted to share one real like personal example of what you're saying. If someone's hearing this, like, how am I supposed to do a 3-4 hour? It's like time spent. Like, put your gift
yeah,
on display. Like, they get to know, like, and trust you. And we just do ours once a month, but it's been a great process, so it's valid. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah,
Okay,
of course.
so so we covered some, like, don't waste your time on this type of marketing, and like, hey, if you're not currently doing these patterns, paid ad to long, we'll call it long form. You mentioned Jason. I mean, he is so good at webinars.
Yeah,
Amongst other things. But yeah, I mean, that's the sales process. And then have sales team doing the follow-up on calls. We've done all kinds of models, but the one that you're recommending is the one that we feel the market really pushing us into. And we're
yeah,
SaaS. So yeah, it's still following that model. Okay, this is great. I want to hear more about your story, but we got to go down compliance because you're one of the best when it comes to compliance. You didn't mention this earlier, but culture is something that you guys also do extremely well with integrity and everything. So I'd like to get into some best practices. Why is compliance even a thing right now? What's happening with other companies that are not compliant?
yeah. It's not good. I think that it's for us. I mean, it's two things. Number one, it's about doing business the right way and having integrity, and that's one of our core values. Um, but it's also companies that aren't doing things the right way and that are out of compliance aren't going to be around long term. Like that's just the reality.
Is that from
Um,
claim? Like, how is somebody out of compliance? They claim one thing and they don't
yeah,
fulfill.
I mean, yeah, a lot of it is earnings claims, right?
Earnings.
Or
Okay.
kind of creating false gradients. right? Like
Mm,
setting unrealistic expectations. A lot of marketers do that on the front end. It's a tricky thing,
yep.
right? There's a fine line between being able to still sell and also be compliant.
Yep.
But to us, it's the most important thing. We have one of the, I think, the best attorney in the business that understands our space that we have on full time retainer. We meet with them every
Nice.
week. We review all of our scripts, make sure that everything that we're doing signs off. And there's just a lot of little things that people kind of don't know what they don't know. But with that being said, it's their responsibility to know.
Yep.
And these government, we'll just say these government organizations, they don't care. Like,
They
you need to know it's your business. You need to respect that and understand what you can and can't do. And a lot of people don't. And so for us, like, we're okay with maybe selling a little bit less for a little while, but long term, like, for us, the most important thing is that we're still in the game. Like, keep ourselves in the game, make sure that we're doing things the right way and set the standard. So yeah, like you mentioned, for us, culture is everything. Sales reps really just want a few different things. Um, they want to make sure that they have some consistency, right? So make sure that all the reps that we contract, that we make sure we do the best that we can to make sure that they have consistent lead flow.
Okay.
They want freedom, right? We have reps all over the world, and they're all contractors, and so they work around their schedule.
Hmm.
And they want to be in a workplace that has a great culture. And so for us, that's super important. Our top reps are always doing the best they can to help everybody else level up. And,
That's awesome.
we're big on doing trips, and, we'll go out to Utah or go to Vegas and get all of our top reps together and race supercars, or, every year we do different things. So just try to create that environment that people want to be a part of.
I was just going to ask, how do you create that environment if it's remote and all over the world? I relate to that line because, we've got a small team of 15 but we're in 7 different countries. Um,
Yeah.
and, so, it's Zoom is where we usually, hang out. Obviously you have live events once a year, a couple times a year, maybe. How else are you cultivating culture?
Well, I mean, it's just a lot of what we do is we stay in good communication on Zoom. Like, I make sure that I see every rep every week.
Weekly,
So we meet
weekly
up with all of our, at
communication.
one point. Yeah, I make sure that I see them all. The team leaders see all the reps multiple times every week. And so there's that live communication with Zoom, but then also just everybody staying engaged in Slack groups,
Mm,
and everybody follows the leaderboard channel. So we run
mm,
this virtually, just like we used to run it when we had a brick and mortar call center, right? And
okay.
so everybody all day, I know where everybody's at with dials and talk time. And I mean, I don't always know, but the leadership on every team knows, like, who's doing work. And every time a deal pops up, the Slack rings and you see the leaderboard being adjusted. And so we try to do the best that we can to create um, that environment that everybody's involved, right? Even though we're all in different places. And by the way, I love that. I love being able to recruit the top talent all over the world versus whoever we got that's looking for an opportunity out here in Boise.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can, like you said, you can go look for the top 1%, top 5% in the market and, make it happen. So I heard daily Slack communication, weekly Zoom, communication with team leads, that have
Yeah.
sometime. Yeah.
So I mean, I make sure that I see every rep weekly. So we have team leaders on every team that we have,
Mm-hmm.
and those team leaders are in constant communication. They if they don't meet daily, they'll meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays once everything is kind of going and stuff like that. But those guys meet also around the time that I spend with them. But I make sure that I have a chance to see every rep every week.
Just to make sure we cover, I'm thinking about all different personalities and interests within our audience. Shout out to all our tech nerds out there. Let's talk tech stack for just a little bit. What's the what are some of the common tech tools that you're seeing in the different offers and clients that you're working with in terms of CRM, dialers, all that?
Yeah. Yeah, so for the most part, we kind of have the same tech stack that we use, and we just kind of plug our clients into those things. But
Mm.
most of the time, we use, and sometimes it's not always the case. But we use HubSpot. HubSpot's our favorite. We use Kixie for our dialing system. I think the most important kind of valuable asset that we bring is how we track all of the data. So we have a really robust system that we have a couple tech people that work with us full time
Mm.
that are all that their whole role is to make sure that they're tracking everything. And so
Mm.
we break everything down to the ridiculous as far as data. So whatever agencies that we're working with can make decisions based off of actual data versus like these leads aren't good, or kind of the broad things that people will say sometimes when they're not converting. So that started when we started Closer Secrets, like in a spreadsheet that my wife created in the beginning, because there was no software that we could just plug, that would work together with HubSpot that we knew of, right? That would give us
Yeah.
everything that we need. And I know people are like, oh, you know, that's okay. We use this phone system or that phone system and it tracks things. It doesn't. Like it doesn't track it like we track it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
You know how I know you're pro, Randall? Outside of site and content and stuff, is this? Hey, we have an attorney on retainer. You shared that for
yeah,
compliance. That's a pro move. That's an investment. That's saying I'm here for a long term. Someone that's not focused on long term does not make that investment and continue paying that retainer. And it's the reason that catches my attention. There is running business before, accounting, legal, all the different, stuff that no one talks about. And then there's after. The second thing is paying for the tech, the data. You can get numbers. Oh, we got data. We got no, you don't. It is such a pain in the butt to get, I call them pretty numbers, but just relevant KPIs, meaningful numbers, down to the
yeah,
top 3, top 5, top 10, where I watch this number and I watch how it trends. And if it does this, this is what I do. And if it does that, that's what it means. And this is what the team's going to need. People don't think that way until you start climbing and the pressure increases. And if you don't know that, you don't make it. So
right.
that's how I know you're pro, Randall.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you breaking that down, the tech, and also, just the data side, how important it is. Make intelligent decisions. How has having clean data affected your internal conversations? How do you like having that data when you have to coach, closers that are doing well or not so well? Having the data, how does it affect those critical conversations?
Well, like you mentioned the word critical, it's definitely critical. I think a lot of times there's also a situation where data can be misconstrued.
Mm,
One time somebody mentioned this, they said something like data without interpretation is cowardice. And I
mm,
think there's a lot of business owners, especially, a lot of like agencies and stuff like that, when they're dealing with their clients, it's easy to throw a bunch of data out there at people and say this is this is our conversions, this is that, but it means nothing without explanation and accurate, like
yeah.
truthful, interpretation. And so for us, we're 100% transparent. Like we share it's all in Power BI. We show
Mm,
all the majority. We share the majority of the dashboards with our clients so
nice.
that they can see exactly what we're seeing. And so it's. I mean, in the beginning, I'll just say that we've came a long ways, right? In the beginning, we weren't able to have those sort of conversations, right? We were trying to figure a lot of things out, but we're at now with everything the way that it is. The time that we spend with these agencies that we work with is just so much more high level,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I think probably the most valuable thing that we've done as a company is created the dashboards that we have. With one of the most is creating the way that we track all of the data with Power BI.
And everyone listening, watching, Power BI, while I'm not familiar with that specific one, that's business intelligence, and that helps with dashboards and key KPIs. Oh man, yeah, we just made some additional moves to just for further investment for attribution and further like accurate tracking throughout the whole customer journey. I know there's already tech, but I'm really blown away how difficult it is to create a meaningful dashboard from the whole process with all the CRM. I mean, HubSpot's got a lot of tracking too. They're really quality, but it takes that extra layer. But we'll let the tech superstars continue to solve that. Here's where I want to go, Randall. Before we wrap up here, I want the audience to be able to get to know you a little bit more. Cause yeah, you've got multiple offers, multiple clients, and you're doing big things, but that's not, I'm sure where it started. You mentioned call centers. Like, did this just start in the depths of a call center and a cubicle for you, or where did this start?
Yeah, pretty much. So when I first started in this industry, it was because I was in the concrete business. And this is when I was about 22, 23 years old. And in the wintertime here in Boise, it's hard to pour concrete and things get slow. I did landscape curbing,
Okay.
like the curb that goes around your flower beds and all that.
Yeah.
So it was slow in the winter times, and I had a buddy that was working on the phones, and he was selling coaching on how to make money with eBay. This is about 20 years ago. So I went in there in the wintertime and just worked throughout the winter, and I was a setter, and I just kind of learned a little bit about it. Went back, did concrete the next summer, and then went back the next winter and worked in there again. And then I started getting good at it. And then I just decided that I wanted to go all in with sales. And so, like I said, that was about 20 years ago. And then I did that for like 4 or 5 years. And then I met Russell. I worked with Russell Brunson kind of from the beginning, back in those of you that know Russell, back in the potato gun days.
Yep.
That's when I started working with him, and I helped him build sales teams and manage the call center. And
Okay.
we sold his offers. We sold offers for some of his buddies and all that. And then I went and I worked in the insurance business for a little while, and then I went back and worked with Russell again and sold his inner circle. And then it was then that I decided that I kind of wanted to start my own thing. Started Closer Secrets, like selling his mastermind and getting to be a part of it. It just made me think bigger, and I could see everybody that was in the mastermind. In my mind, it was always like, you just needed a sales team, right? Like you need a high ticket offer, and like that's the difference between everybody that I know that's making a ton of money and everybody that's here that's trying to figure out how to make more money. It just has to do with the back end high ticket offers, sales teams, all the stuff that I love.
Yeah. That's awesome. We'll have to exchange multiple Russell stories after this or
Yeah.
at some point. But you mentioned the inner circle. I don't know if and we're the one that talked to Sean, but like we were in there for a couple years and a few years, and you mentioned how it shifted your life. One takeaway that I wanted to highlight for everyone is proximity.
Yeah.
People, I'm fortunately blessed with good parents, and but I was also learned the value of a dollar, and I was given, we'll call it, the opportunity of taking initiative and figuring it out on my own. and
Yeah.
so the short version for me was no one around me made millions. So
Yeah.
when I say I'm going to build a lifelong marriage, a world impacting family, and a 9-figure tech company, well, you can't have it all, Chris. That's what I would hear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, but is that even having it all? And is that even a lot? I mean, I just wasn't just inside. I was like, and then as you mentioned, proximity, being inspired by that same room and inner circle, I was like, everybody is that here. And
Yeah.
I call it discouragement. It's where you're inspired and discouraged all at the same damn
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
the stupidest guy in that room for sure. Everyone talks about Hormozy now, but it's like when you're standing next to his biceps, even in 2017, 18, they're probably even bigger then. So,
Yeah, I love that guy. That's a guy that I got started with Russell way back in the day. Alex, I've known him forever. Great guy.
yeah. Like, a lot of the stories he's sharing now, it's like we were living that, watching him just skyrocket and crush. And the pool lady boss, and I mean, there's so many talented people, and probably a ton more now. But anyway, so I appreciate you sharing. That's where it started. You started in a call center. just smiling and dialing, some banging
Yeah.
phones. That's like,
Yeah.
there's no better education. And so that led, and for everyone listening that's like, all right, this Randall guy's really good. He's worked with the best. And now you're providing this service for other businesses, because I know there's business owners listening and they're like, Randall, that's cool, high ticket, I get that's the way, but there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to put together a sales team. I've tried it. I've already been down that path, Randall. But they need it. And so if I'm not mistaken, Randall, like you're someone they can actually call. I'm sure there's some vetting process, but you're not hiring inside of someone else's business. You're like, no. I bring the superstars. We do our thing. You send the traffic our way, and here's how we convert. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, they create the leads, hand them off to us. We handled all of the sales process and all that, and then we turn it back over to them for fulfillment.
Right on. Is there
Yeah, we
any?
don't we
Yeah.
don't we don't like place closers. There's a lot of companies out there that do that. Like the last thing that I would ever do is give away the talent that we have.
See, and
Right?
that not, I mean, I'm sure there's some agency or scenario where that works out, but I've seen
Yeah.
way more of that scenario not work out for that reason. It's like, wait, if they're so good, like why wouldn't you have them, I just never clicked for me. So you just saying like, listen, like here's the call. Is there a minimum call volume, by the way?
Well, we pretty much don't kind of get started with anybody that we can't see how we could at least build a team out to sell 100 grand a week. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's 100 grand the first week, but if we can't see that, and then we usually, don't kind of
Yeah.
get started with those things.
Because the
Yeah.
closer still got to get paid too.
Well, yeah, we got to make sure that yeah, that's the thing. Like people want to work with us because they know the type of money that other closers are making. And
Yeah.
so, and we don't like having closers work on multiple offers, right? We want to make sure that they're all in on certain offers. So, like on the lower side of things, if somebody can create at least like 50 to 100 leads a week, usually 100,
Yeah.
um, that's kind of where we want to be. And most of the time, we track everything off DPL or dollar per lead,
Okay.
and so we look for offers that we can at least convert at about $1,000 DPL.
Yeah.
Right. So that means if they get 100 leads and we have $1,000 DPL, then we're hitting 100 grand a week. And
There you
that's
go.
usually kind of the standard that we like to.
Perfect. Knowing,
Yeah.
got to know the numbers. So, yeah, just wanted to give you a little shameless plug there, because if you're doing, at least around 100 leads, like you're mentioning, and maybe you're not quite doing 100,000 a week in sales, but maybe the lead flow's there. Go to closersecrets.com and have a conversation with Randall and or his team, and see what's possible. Because listen, you find the right people and the right value, and you combined all the building blocks of what business is, a game of inputs and outputs. And I mean, you can 3, 5, 10x, especially when it comes to your case where it's purely revenue generating activity. So, yeah, really powerful. Hey, before we wrap this up, there's one question that I always like to ask anyone. Somebody that puts themselves out there, this can be an entertainer, this can be an actor, musician, or entrepreneur, athlete, whatever. It's a vulnerable place. You're creating, you're making an effort to bring value into the world, the team, etc. And there's a tremendous amount of rejection that comes with that. And the people that not only do that once, but do that twice, and for 5 years and 10 years and more, fascinate me. They grab my attention. You're one of those people. Like you said, is it over 2 decades now? Just
Yeah.
in, so you've may or just taking a guess, maybe have taken a couple punches, just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Why, Randall, do you keep leaning in? Why do you keep putting yourself out there to create value for yourself and others?
I mean, I guess the short answer would be because I'm unemployable. I don't have. I kind of put myself in a place where I don't feel like I have any other options but to make this work,
Hmm.
right? And I think that in the beginning, like I said, I had other things that I did throughout part of the year. I had some guaranteed income. My wife, she
Hmm.
worked at a tech company, and so I had that bit of stability, which is great because I don't know what I would have dun without that. And so I'm
Hmm.
just super grateful for that because, I mean, obviously, it hasn't always been how it's been these last 5 years. There has been a lot of challenges, and I think just staying the course and, figuring out what's working and doing more of that. I think sometimes we all get scattered out. I know I did when I first started Closer Secrets. I was like doing courses and trying to like do that stuff, and I was making money though with the done for you sales. And I read that book, The One Thing.
Yeah, that's good.
And then I was like, we need to really be focusing on the one thing. And then I also had this lady that came into my life named Deborah Burris. And she is my partner now. And I'm really good at sales, and there's a lot of things that I'm really not good at, right? Like all the stuff that I was talking about from an operations standpoint, like all of the tech stacks and like all of the systems and processes, it can be really, there's a lot. There's a lot to it. And so when Deborah came in, she came in like 5-6 years ago, and she's an operations superstar. And so when we started working together, that's when like things started, like, we started getting some more good offers. We started getting things really dialed in. And, so I'm super grateful for that. And not just her, like, the whole team, like my wife, she's been a trooper. She's been with me from the beginning. Right.
She's
And
put
then
up with the most, hasn't she?
yeah, she has, like, definitely. And so,
Yeah.
and just I'm just super grateful for our whole team.
Yeah. It takes a team. I mean, that's the key word there. And ops, is not my skill set either. And man, is it a whole nother skill set. And it's so valuable to the business. Randall, I really appreciate you taking the time to pour into our audience today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate you, Chris.
And appreciate all you. Your time and attention means the world to us. That's why we only bring on the best, the real entrepreneurs that are getting real results. And that's the kind of content you can continue to expect from here. And we're excited to see you guys on the next one.